This is my Gibson SG Faded. It is heavily modified over the years, and I know that modifying SG Fadeds is pretty popular, so I wanted to share with you guys some of the things that I have done, the story of this guitar, why I did them, so I hope you enjoy. Now, I don't have a before and after. Sorry about that. Like I said, I've done these modifications kind of one by one over the years and have only just decided to do this video. However, it was a stock Gibson SG Faded. There's tons of stuff about that online. It has the ebony fingerboard. It's from a number of years ago. This was my first serious electric guitar, my first Gibson, and I still love Gibson. You do too. It was a gift from my parents for Christmas when I was getting really serious about the guitar, and I've put a lot of hours and miles on this guitar. It's been with me through a lot of times, and so I didn't want to just let it collect dust in the corner. So, what do? You go on the forums, see what other people are doing, and all the people saying, just get a standard. Come on, man, let the guitar be what it is and just get a standard. And you're like, I have a standard. I have more than one standard. I actually have a problem. It's one day at a time. Anyway, I was not content to just let this guitar sit and be what it was, because what it was collecting dust. Even though it was a great playing and great sounding guitar, you know, I'm sure like many of you, when you get a nicer guitar, you tend to want to play the nicer guitars. So, here's what I've done over time. First thing that I did, pretty simple, was get a bone nut, replace the plain black truss rod cover for a multiply one, and get some reflector knobs. That's pretty easy. Bone nut was the most expensive of that. I had my luthier do it for 50 bucks. If you can do it yourself, you can do it for cheaper. Next thing that I did was I originally had a Tone Man guitar wiring harness specifically for SGs that I put in. I liked that one so much that I actually put that in one of my standards, and I built this one myself with CTS Pots and .022 UF paper and oil capacitors. It gives it kind of a vintage feel, and with the 500K pots, it really opens up the guitar a little bit more. It's almost like taking a blanket off of your amplifier when you play. Then we get to some of the bigger and, for lack of a better word, sexier modifications. Next are the pickups. These are Righteous Sound pickups R-tops. They're based on T-tops. Get it? Because it's righteous with the R and the These are hand wound, and they're based off of T-tops, and T-tops are what would have been in SGs in the late 60s and into the 70s. Probably the pickups that would have been in the SGs that like Angus Young was using. Maybe somebody can correct me on that if I'm incorrect, but seriously, don't correct me on that. It's obnoxious. They're bright, edgy, kind of aggressive, but still clean up really, really nicely. They have a lot of character, so it's not just like a high gain pickup. They're a great vintage style pickup. In fact, T-tops in general are making a big comeback because, you know, in guitar, anything that is underappreciated is just one hipster cycle away from being cool again. We're on the verge of the T-top. The R-tops sound awesome. I really, really like these pickups. And again, they give it that kind of cool classic rock sound. You know, Doobie Brothers, man. You know, it's the sound. It's the sound. Anyway, next we move on to some of the other ones. This tailpiece, a lot of the SGs in the late 60s and into the 70s had tailpieces. I got this for $5 on eBay. It does put some screw holes in the guitar, but it's an SG Faded. You know, if I ever decide to take it off and it's got some screw holes in it, I think that just adds to the character. The SG that made me fall in love with SGs was my neighbor Mark's guitar, which was an old Firebrand one. If any of you have seen those, it had the kind of recessed, carved out Gibson logo in the headstock. He had at one point put a Floyd Rose on it and then taken that off and filled in the gap with a block of wood, and I just thought that made the guitar cooler. It gave it more of a story. So, you know, with this one I don't mind if there's a couple screw holes. Maybe I'll take it off just so that there will be screw holes. Who knows? Then we get to the more serious one, which I'm sure some people will be interested in, the headstock inlay. Now, I want to be very clear. I don't in any way encourage someone to make a faux Gibson or to try and pass this off as a guitar that it's not. Serial number is still intact. It's an SG Faded. It's clear that it's an SG Faded that's been modified. However, the problem that I had with the logo before, it wasn't that it was the gold decal. It was that it was so dull you could not really discern it, and in photographs it kind of just looked like there was a blob at the top because it was so dull. I have a Les Paul Special that has a gold logo that's a lot brighter. I really like that one. I would never change that. This one, I don't know, it's just something needed to be done to spruce it up a bit. So you can get, there's a number of places where you can get Gibson inlay logos. This one was a thin mother of pearl one that I bought on eBay. It had some adhesive on the back, and it is a direct fit over that. So you could just do that, and then it would be slightly raised. I had my luthier finish over it too, and he did a really great job to make it look a little more coherent. He kind of built up the lacquer down here so that it would be just like, you know, right flat across. And the last thing I did to give it that 60s vibe was to get these white butterbean button tuners, and I did have to get some of the conversion bushings, which is kind of a pain, but, you know, whatever. So this is a guitar, and it's breathed new life into it. So I'm really excited about it. I'm kind of excited to feel like this guitar excites me again, like I want to play it again. So for any of you who are looking to modify SG fadeds, this is what I've done. Last thing I'm going to do, which I have not done yet, is get a cream button for this guy. So you've just heard what the R-tops sound like and kind of what the guitar in general sounds like. We're going to hear more of the different pickup settings, clean and overdriven. I'm plugging it into a Fender 59 Bassman reissue. It's stereo mic'd with a Shure SM57 and Blue Encore 100i. For the overdriven tones, I'm using an AJ Pete Fat Peacock. It's a stack style distortion. It sounds really cool. And I'm using some light reverb from a TC Electronic Hall of Fame 2 reverb. Hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gives you a little bit of a direction for anyone who wants to modify SG fadeds. And we'll see you next time. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share.
Thank you.